Hey all, hope you all are doing good. So today is day 19 server side request forgery, that is the naughty or nice list. So if you are following the playlist, that's excellent. If not, that's fine because the topics are kind of independent. So if you want any specific topic, just go through that. So we have 5 more days left to complete the sticks, and then we'll wait for the summary, network, and CVE playlist. So let's get started with the lab. So Santa has released okay. Before that, just to know that on top I'm already connected via OpenVPN, and this is kind of taking more time to get deployed, so we'll just click on deploy and just get started with our thing. Okay, so we'll give it some time to get deployed and let's start it. So Santa has released a web app that lets children of the world check whether they are currently on the naughty or nice list. Unfortunately, the elf who coded it exposed more things than she thought. Can you access the list administration and ensure that every child gets a present from Santa this year? Okay, feel free to try hacking the web app on your own or follow the instruction below. Note that when bypassing the hostname filter, use the local test.me. Otherwise, your attempts won't work. Can't bypass a naughty or okay, then follow the instruction or watch the creator. Okay, fine. So let's get started on to our actual topic, since we know what we are going to do today. So what is server-side request forgery? It's actually a web app vulnerability that allows attacker to force the web application server to make requests to resources it normally doesn't do so. We are forcing, or somehow we are manipulating the browser to make the server-side request, which in general in normal BAU it won't do. Okay, so for example, a web app may have the functionality to produce screenshots of other websites when a user supplies a URL. This is perfectly a valid functionality. However, URLs can also be made for internal IP address, which was not the part of actual business logic, but we are making it to do. So that's, if it is vulnerable to that, then we call it as a SSRF. So yeah, let's continue with the description. As well as internal only host names. If a web developer is not careful, an attacker could provide the apps with these and manage to screenshot internal resources, which often has less protection and hence attracting the attacker. Okay, so to counter this, user provided URLs can be checked before they are requested to ensure that malicious values are not being used. However, due to the complex nature of URLs themselves, there are often many things an attacker can do to bypass these checks or filters or whatever validation that a developer is appending to the logic. Okay, note that while the example of SSRF used in this task is effectively a remote file inclusion vulnerability as well, not every SSRF is. Some SSRF vulnerability only triggers a DNS lookup, while others may return any kind of response but can still be used for port scan, internal scanning. Each request takes to complete. In other case, SSRF may be used as a form of DOS, since the attacker can continually request that a server download large file, just as in our case in the example that we have seen previously, to have the screenshot downloaded. If we make a continuous request that is just covering the disk space, network, and bandwidth of the server. So our actual task, the walkthrough. Once the VM is deployed, connect to this web app. Okay, let's close all the unnecessary stuff, and I hope the font is visible. Enter a name in the form and click search button. Okay, so if I go here to find out if you are currently naughty or in the night, please enter your name. Have a Merry Christmas. Ho ho ho. Dpoint. Search. Oh, nice loading page. Naughty list. Oh man. Fine. You try to put your name and try to search for it. Okay. Enter a name in the form and click the search button. When the page loads, it should tell you whether, yeah, we are good. If we use a URL decoder on the value proxy. So if we can see here, there is some proxy query parameter we can see in the URL. We simply open the web app. We simply search for something and we can see that there is a query parameter with the proxy. So since if we use a URL DN code, okay, so let's copy the value of this proxy. Copy. Man, why it is not working? Yes, so let's copy this and go to URL decode. URL decoder. Paste it, decode. So we can see it's something list ho 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 dot running on 8080, searching for the query parameter name called the value that we supplied. Okay, so okay, since list ho ho is not a valid hostname on the internet, the hostname likely prefers to some backend machine. It seems that okay, so it's that .com, .in, that kind of stuff is very popular for SEO. They might have chosen something else, and internally they are redirecting the request to this ho 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 ending domain. Okay, so it means the proxy is considering the URL that is passed as a value, and so basically we can provide our own custom values. So the most obvious thing we can try to do first is fetch the root of the same site, browse to this, there is some URL. Okay, let's open this, let's close all the unnecessary stuff, and now we can see the requested URL was not found on the server. So what is the URL that we found? It's array yaar, why am I closing that URL decoder? Decode, yes, let's not close this. Yeah, we might need it again, so let's try to paste and try to decode. So list ho 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 port 80 is not working. So this seems to have potential as in original page, but what we are getting out of this, though it is worked or not, we are able to see that the URL that we are passing, it is able to validate it, and it is trying to give us what based on the proxy value. So it is considering it actually, okay, not only the fixed names or things like that. Okay, so it's like dynamic values it is considering. This seems to have potential as in place of the engineers. And what else do we see here? Yes, no. So let's okay, the most obvious thing we can try is let's open this once again, and okay, fine. And now there seems to have potential as in place. Tiberius is on the nice list. Message was instead we see not found. The requested URL was not found on the server. This seems like a generic 404 message indicating that we are able to make the server request to modified URL, right? There are many things we could do now, such as finding a valid URLs for the list ho 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 site. We could also try changing the port from 8080 to something else. Okay, so try changing the port from 8080, just add 80. Okay, so let's go here, and instead of 80 let's make it only 80. Now let's try to open this, and we see failed to connect to a list, connection refused. So it refused or accepted something, but since it is refused, it means can we say that there was something which is running on 80, right? So if something is running on 80 or 80 by default, like the probability of saying that okay, there is some server is running on the target, yes, the probability is increases, but we are not sure. Okay, only about this sum we cannot exactly say, but we have some more enumerated data getting gathered. Okay, the message now changes to something else. We suggest the port it is not open on list ho 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 ho, connection refuse. Okay, let's try with let's say 80, right? Let's try with 82, and we should be getting just the same thing. Okay, so we can say that all the ports we can try out. If there is nothing, then we are getting this message. Okay, right, try changing the port to 22, that is SSH. Okay, the message now changes, connection reset. This suggests that the port is open but did not understand what we sent. So let's try to hit 22, which is the SSH default port. Now if I search, okay, connection reset by peer, so receive failure. Okay, so it means there is something running, but it did not understood our get request. Another thing we can try out with SSRF is accessing a servers locally on the servers. We can do this by replacing the list dot ho 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 with localhost or one. Oops, it looks like the developer has a check in place. Okay, let's try that out. Do we have a URL directly provided? Yes, localhost. So let's open this and let's close all the other, and your search has been blocked. So yeah, developer is not that dumb. Okay, so as it turns out, this checks can easily be bypassing the host name in the URL to bypass the checks and access local services. Okay, so it's basically for 127.001 we can create different kinds of URLs. The only check here was that the proxy URL should start with list.ho, that 3 times ho. So we created one more URL, then as per the description it is also suggesting that we can do it in n number of other ways. So to find the URL of this, let's say host Ctrl+Shift+V f list, we can say has the address this, and let's add something else here, something. Okay, So basically the DNS is such that if at last local test.me is there, so the DNS is resolving to 127.0.0.1 IP address. Okay, so that is something that is already created and provided to us. Success, it appears there is a web service running on this. Okay, let's open this and close. So what is the message that we are seeing? Okay, if you need to make any changes to the naughty, you need to log in. I know you have trouble remembering password, so here it is. Be good for goodness sake. Okay, so is this a password or is this a clue? Okay, so for what we can do, click the admin link and log in. Guess the username and the password. Delete the naughty list to find the fact. So we don't know what is username and password yet. So if I scroll down, so the first question that I see is, what is Santa's password? So I can say username is Santa. Okay, it is like for sure this is now not how it goes every time, but okay, since Santa's password is asking, it might be Santa with small s, it might be Santa with capital S, and we can go on and on, but this can be a good place to start with. Okay, if Santa has some alias name, nickname, so that kind of stuff. So if Santa does not work, maybe the Tiberius is the Santa actually, who knows. Okay, so yeah, so what is Santa's password? We are going to start with the Santa. Now if we see the password, be good for the goodness sake. Now this is a clue or password, we don't know, but if we come and try to use the hint provided by TryHackMe, we can see this is a big phrase and it's the same as the head of sentence provided to us here, so it is the actual password. Okay, so this was something which kind of seems tricky, and this is one of the suggested security setting, secure password is that use some phrases for your password instead of simply a word like, hey, I am doing good. Okay, so hey, I am on my way to this. So that itself will be your most secure password. But the thing is, we just need not to forget between the sentences. Yeah, so submit. Yes, that's good. Now what is the challenge flag? Now we have the password, we just need to go to admin and we have the login. Yes, so Santa and go to password, login. Don't save, only press the button when emergency level of Christmas cheer are needed. Okay, so emergency level here, in the sense I can say that the gift should be given to everyone. That is something I see as emergency. What other it could be? Mention if you see anything emergency, anything such as emergency levels. So delete this and we get, okay, so TryHackMe, everyone gets present. So yeah, that's the emergency level. So copy and just give it as a flag. So submit it, and that's all. That's a small cute lab just to understand how SSRF works. So just we'll make the browser to make a call to server which it does not intend to do in its normal business as usual. Okay, in its BAU. So that's all for today, and if you like the explanation, please do subscribe, click on notification bell, share with people who are new to this or who are trying to understand this kind of topics, and overall any kind of suggestions, any kind of modification in the explanation, or any good labs or any kind of different techniques that you want to suggest, please do mention those in the comment section. And finally, practice as much as possible. All the best. Thank you.